What I'm about to share with you is one of the most transformational things that I teach in a paid class, but I am going to give it to you for free. Most of us believe that life is happening to us until we understand this. We believe that as our relationships, our interactions with other people, we believe that these things are shaped primarily by external factors, but it is our inner world that actively shapes our outer experiences. Our brains do not experience reality directly. So our brain is constantly asking, based on what I already believe, what you already believe, what is most likely happening right now? So when this lady is with this guy, when he does something, it is based on what she already believes that she interprets what he does. That interpretation is what gives her the reaction that she's going to have. I am going to give you in a nutshell something that you can use to transform your relationships. If you want more details, that's okay, that's an aside. But with just this, you can begin to make a change. And when you see the change, you will know that it works. You were led down a path of struggle unnecessarily. So many things that could help us in our day-to-day lives were overlooked, leading to people growing through life, imbibing and learning things that are just creating a life of struggle. How your relationships work out is exactly because of your mind in that relationship. If you haven't already started doing it, I know that you find it profound. It wasn't until I started hearing people talk about it later in life that I realized that that's exactly what I did in that scenario. That's exactly what I used to solve these other issues. And that's when I realized that this is actually a thing. It's a fact of life. And many people who don't know it struggle in so many different areas because of not knowing it. So everything that we experience in our relationships are coming directly from our mindsets and beliefs about those people and the relationships. And that's because as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That statement is true and valid. And I'm going to show you how you actually see those things come into the physical, and you'll know that you already had something like this in mind, and then you see it play out. And unfortunately, what happens is that that thing playing out confirms to you, tells you that your thoughts and beliefs are true. Whereas your thoughts and beliefs are not necessarily true. They're just true to you. And because they're true to you, that's why those things are happening with you. And I'll show you how. Just stay with me. When you learn this, what I want you to promise as you're learning it is that you're not going to use it to manipulate or to arm twist other people. Because life requires us to always be just and fair in dealing with other people. If we go and put our will over another person in order to make them do something the way that we want, we are going to lose at the end of the day. It works against us. I will not necessarily explain to you how it works against us here, because when I do that, some people are still going to try to use that and manipulate it, right? But when you fully understand this, you will see it. When you begin to put it into practice, you will see how it works. So let's just leave it at that. Yeah, so as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That verse and many other verses that we hear all the time that we've known all our lives, they're true. But we just didn't know how true they were, because when we heard them, we thought about them in a religious way. We feel as if it's a different aspect of life. These are tenets that we're supposed to use in our lives. We don't see it that way. We don't quite see it that way. We don't realize that it's minute to minute. These are words of wisdom that have been known for ages, right? Unfortunately, we see those things as things for a certain group of people. But anyway, as I was saying, many of those verses are true minute to minute in our lives, just as true as the sun is outside in the sky and not in my living room. When I tell you that I learned quite a number of things by accident, I'm serious. I didn't decide one day, oh, I'm just so smart, so because I am so smart, this is what I should do. And I think that I'm lucky, because if someone had tried to teach me those things directly by telling me I should do this, and I came upon it because I had a friend with me, learning these things by experience and by actually applying them directly in situations, and then knowing after I've applied it here, I've already known that this is the likely result, and then I go and apply it there, and then I get that result, and then I do it again, I repeat it again in other scenarios. I know that this is a formula that actually works. It's a different thing from learning theory, and then you're thinking to yourself, maybe it's not even true, or maybe it just worked for this person because they have something special, or they were in special circumstances. I know again that our backgrounds influence who we are and the ways that our minds operate. And so I will say, just have an open mind. Have an open mind. We're all coming from different backgrounds, but these things work for everybody who has tried them. So if it's working for so many different people from different walks of life and different backgrounds, it'll work for you if you have an open mind and you go ahead and apply. Okay? You will agree with me that everything that we do, for everything that we actually do, it starts with the thought of doing it, right? For instance, every morning you go to your office. There is no way that you get to your office without having the idea that I'm going to have my bath, I'm going to get ready and go to the office. You already know what your office looks like, and you leave and go to the office, get to the front of the building, put your hand on the door handle, open the door and get into the building, and then you head straight to your office. You already saw yourself at work that day before you left your home. And it is a belief that you're going to work that makes you actually dress up for work. You don't dress up to go to the club. You don't dress up to go to the church. You don't dress up to go visiting. You dress up for work because you already know that you're going to work, right? When you're traveling, when you travel, you don't know. You don't even think about the direction that the pilot is flying. You don't know how to fly a plane if you're not the one driving, and maybe you don't even know how to drive. You just get on the plane or in that vehicle knowing that that's your destination, and you're going there. You already packed your bag, you have a suitcase, you have things. If you're visiting people, you already have things that you're going to give them. You don't know how it happens that you go through time and get to that destination. But the reason why you left, the reason why you packed those things in advance, even though you didn't see yourself there already in the physical, everything started from your mind. And that gave you the strong belief that you were going to actually get there. And so you actually went, took your money, went shopping and went and bought things for other people. And then you took this trip knowing that you were going to give them the gifts, right? And now let's talk about the negative experiences. And you're going to say to yourself, but I don't want the negative experiences. So why do they happen to me? If they happen to me, why will they happen? The difference is that you don't have to want them. And so that thing is already sitting in your subconscious, right? Now, how much weight it has in your subconscious is where the point is. So that's the way that those negative beliefs also happen. You may not even be conscious of it, but the fact that it is somewhere in there in your subconscious, it has already made a mark on your mind. Maybe you've heard stories about how women are gold diggers, or you've heard stories about how men always cheat, and you've thought about it. Of course, you don't want it, but even when you see those things on social media, you go and read, you go and watch the video, and if you're not that person who is already sure that these things won't happen to them, when you're reading and watching those things, you think to yourself that if this were to happen to me, right? That's the way that you see it. You think about how you would react and how you would respond if this were to happen to you. But do you know that there are people who, when they see those things, they know this cannot happen to me. They already know that this is not even going to happen to me, right? So that's the difference between these people and those other people. So for negative thoughts that we don't actually want to come through, let me give one or two examples. Say a lady who is dating someone and she feels like this guy doesn't really value me. I don't think this guy really likes me, but I really like him and I really want this relationship. And then a guy who marries a woman who he feels is not really, he feels like this woman is above me. What happens with these relationships is that because you already have that thought, it's somewhere in the subconscious and you don't want it to happen. So that's the difference. So that's what people misunderstand when we say that the mind creates the reality. It's not necessarily that you want it to happen. It is that fear is there. And as soon as that fear or that thought is there, it's going to affect everything that's going to happen. Your decisions and responses. They don't want something negative to occur in these relationships. She doesn't want this man to not value her. She wants her value to increase. And he does not want his wife to see him as someone who is not enough for her. So they are going to be making efforts to make these people see them in a different light. But all their actions, their interactions, their reactions, their interpretation of anything that happens between them, they'll all be driven from an automation, an emotional memory that is in their unconscious minds. Everything they do, because every time that she interacts with him, she's going to interpret everything that happens from the angle of he doesn't value me enough, or I hope that this makes him value me. So she's going to constantly be trying. See, these people are working hard to not have that result that they don't want, that is sitting in their minds, right? That fear that they have. That man is going to always be working with his wife in a way that he believes is going to help her to not see him as not up to her level. So now everything is depending on effort, right? So they cannot be in a balanced conscious state to have this relationship, and they're not going to be able to be vulnerable in the right way because they're always going to be protecting something. It sounds abstract. It sounds like, what is this saying? But you see, it's very direct. Everything that these people do in their relationships, she cannot afford to let her guard down. He cannot afford to let his guard down. And the people that you're interacting with will be seeing your responses. So you are triggering them to act in a way that when they eventually do those things that you are triggering them to do, you are still going to get the results that you would get in the first place. The results of a person who the wife does not see him as up to her level, the man does not see her value, because you are acting exactly the way that a person who does not have value would act. You're acting exactly the way that a man who does not have the level that woman that he feels that woman deserves would act. You are doing it in person, and therefore they cannot help responding to you in that way. So you see, that's how these things happen. When you get there with whatever is sitting in your subconscious, you are going to play the role of that person. Do you see how direct it is? This is how your mindset becomes your physical reality.